And we're live. Welcome to Music Matters with Jason Tramm. We're streaming live from Founders Park in historic Ocean Grove, New Jersey. So welcome and thank you for joining us. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. Like and share our videos. This helps our community grow. We just hit 1,435 subscribers, so add your name to the list. Here on Music Matters, we bring in artists from a variety of genres, from classical to rock and roll and everything in between, and it's a great conversation. Here we discuss the challenges and triumphs of the artistic industry as seen through the eyes of distinguished colleagues. Today we've got a great guest for you. We have the Midnight Devils frontman. We have Sam Spade. The Midnight Devils are a national touring glam, slam, boogie woogie rock and roll band from Omaha, Nebraska and Chicago, Illinois. That was the line that got me. I said, I have to have these guys on the show. Most recently, the Devils were on tour with the legendary UK sleaze rockers, the London Choir Boys, to promote their debut music video, Pink Halo, which I tagged in the description. After 2 weeks on the tour, it was canceled because of the COVID pandemic. Yikes. Over the last 3 years, they've toured coast to coast with performances at iconic venues like the Viper Room in LA, the Dive Bar in Vegas, and the Rocklahoma Music Festival in Pryor, Oklahoma. Upcoming performances are scheduled in July with artists like Yngwie Malmsteen on the East Coast. So we're so delighted you can join us. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, how's it going? It's good. It's great to be here today.
So glad you can join us. So how do we get a glam rock band in Nebraska?
It is quite the weird thing, and I'll tell you this: we are the only glam rock band within 300 miles of Nebraska. There's some little factions here and there around Kansas City and stuff like that, but we are the only one, so it makes it a little tough for us. But really, we grew up, Chris and I, Chris Sniper, our guitar player, we grew up in Nebraska. We've lived here our whole lives, and everybody kind of dogs on Nebraska that it's farm boys and cows and corn, but it's not really like that for us. We lived in the city our whole lives. We never grew up on a farm or anything like that. We just happen to love Kiss. And that's really what it was, is that I grew up in a kind of a smaller town that I kind of felt like I needed to break free, and I needed something else that wasn't sports, that wasn't school. And somebody introduced me to Kiss, and it blew the top off for me like that. And it opened my eyes, and I said, this is the ticket. This is the way you can get out and see the world and do it on your own terms and be creative. And that's the thing with this style of music, is that it's so visual and so image oriented that you can totally be as creative and as wild and as free as you want to. And I kind of been telling everybody that, like, being on tour now is the last kind of frontier, the last Wild West, and it's still anything you want to do, anything you want, you can go out and get.
So we've had this, so Kiss goes back to the 70s, right? And we've had, I grew up in the 90s with the Poison and the Warmth and all the next generation. What's the state of glam rock today?
I think it's doing great. I really think with and it's kind of weird to say it hit a mainstream with that Motley Crue movie. That was huge. That was a huge thing.
Huge resurgence, right?
And it was good and bad for us, because it was great because it brought all these fans out, and these people were like, I love Motley Crue. It's bad because I can't walk into a bar without somebody going, hey, have you seen The Dirt? Hey, you look like Motley Crue. Hey, are you in Steel Panther? All this. And you're like, that's not what we did this for. That's not why we're here. I love Motley Crue, sure, but it's like when the world finally sees that there was these glam rock bands out there, all these, it's come back around to where these new generations. And I think when we do a lot of the tours and a lot of the festivals, we end up being one of the last or only, like, really hyper glam rock, makeup everywhere, hairspray, playing our style of rock and roll. And it's really cool, and people love it still. That's the thing, is people love it, and they love the entertainment, they love the shock, they love the realness that is from the heart.
There's a picture of you standing on a bar, like full of, that's the energy. And that's, I've watched your videos, live videos, and must be so exciting to be in the audience, to feel the energy, to jump up there and get everyone pumped up.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a give and take between the audience, where I'm as excited to be on the stage as I feel like the audience is out in the crowd. And we try to break that wall down to where it's not a band up on stage that's untouchable. We're all there for the same celebration. We're all there for the same party. We're all going to show up looking really good. We're all going to enjoy the music, and we're all going to go to the after party and have a blast afterwards. That's really what it is. It's about having a good time and getting out there and expressing yourself and your beliefs.
Well, you guys certainly have a great time, and you're really great musicians individually.
Thank you.
I played during my COVID hobby during the pandemic was I'm a classical conductor and I do a lot of orchestral and opera and stuff like that. But I've got sons who one's a jazz guitar player, plays rock, and one's a drummer. So my drummer got better than me on the drums, so I started playing the bass. And I started picking up
Oh,
and singing and playing the bass. And
tough.
man, is it hard!
It is. It's very difficult. It's kind of like you have to almost rearrange the way you play and sing so that it matches the rhythms. But
I was
there's
going to
guys like,
ask you because the keeping the bass line going
yeah.
independently with the melodies makes my brain melt.
You know what my hobby was I wanted to learn every Kiss song front to back, right, on bass. So I started at the first album. I started working my way through, and I'm like, these songs are really hard and really complicated. How is he singing and playing the bass parts? I was blown away, and a new appreciation for Gene Simmons and all bass player singers. It's a tough situation.
So tell us about you growing up. Did you always know you wanted to be a rocker? What was your first passion in music, and who were the groups that influenced you?
My first was say the Beach Boys. That's really where it started, is kind of when you found, like, when you're younger and you start feeling these feelings and you don't quite know what they are. It's hard to put your finger on, but you know that you're excited about this music, and you listen to this music over and over. And as a kid, it's just like you have a very select amount of music that you can listen to. So it's Beach Boys, it was Elvis, and then it turned into like AC/DC, and that's really kind of where it spawned into I'm gonna dive into this thing head first, and I couldn't stop it. It's not like I chose to. I was like sucked into this world of rock and roll, and my parents didn't quite appreciate it. They didn't quite understand it, but they knew enough to kind of support me and let me do my thing.
Your first, did you always play the bass? Did you play the guitar? Do you have
I
any other
played the guitar
instrument?
first, yeah.
Ah,
I was initially a guitar player. Like, I had the Ace Frehley guitar and everything like that, and I took lessons, and the I played in a couple touring bands all through, when I was 18 to 25, touring around the country in punk rock bands, and I joined an 80s hair metal band, like a tribute band, as the stage manager. One day, the bass player goes, "Hey, I need you to fill in for me. I got something else to do. I can't make the gigs." And as soon as he said fill in, I learned all the songs, and they ended up firing him right away, and I jumped right in. So he made himself replaceable. I took the job, and I've been a bass player ever since.
it's exciting. So what was your first band? Tell us about your first band. What was the music, and what was it like to get in this front of the stage at that young age?
Yeah, my first band was called Officially Terminated, and it was a punk band, straight up a terrible 77 style punk. But we were the only band in town, which was cool. We were the only band that was exciting. So we would throw shows at like the little city auditorium or the VFWs, and all the kids would come out. Everybody be drinking and partying in the parking lots. The cops would show up. It was this whole thing. And we wanted to do more, really along the lines of that glam rock. Is I didn't know what I wanted at that time, but I know I wanted more than just guys standing around on stage. And so we dressed it up, and we had in those, you guess you'd call it theatrics, where we'd walk around town and pick up TVs that people had sitting on the side of the curb, and we break the TVs in the middle of the show, and that was like our pyrotechnics or whatever. So it was always, when that band played, it was always something that everybody looked forward to. The kids looked forward to. We didn't know what we were doing, though. We were just learning, but we knew we had to get out on tour, and we left probably when we were 18. My parents weren't super thrilled about this, but I was like, "Hey, we're going to go on tour. We're going to do a week and a half." And we did it. We booked our own tour, map quested directions, and that band lasted 7 years. And it was my
Wow.
first, and it came a long way.
What are some things you learned being in that first band, being on the road? What are some things you had to learn that have paid off now that you've been doing this for a while?
And the learning is, I've learned that it's not necessarily about the party. It's about the party atmosphere and that lifestyle, and that positive forward thinking. It isn't necessarily about drinking and doing drugs. That I had to kind of learn the hard way, is that it can overtake your life and overshadow your dreams and what you're doing. That part kind of sucked. What I did learn, the positives were that if you work hard enough, you can get there. And if you ask questions, people are likely to say yes. And if they say no, you're in the same position you were. Nobody's going to give you anything for free. And that is a fact. Like, you're gonna have to go out there and bust your ass and work as hard as you can possibly work just to get that inch that you want to get.
People don't realize how hard rock singers and rock artists have to work. I was watching podcasts with Joe Rogan podcast, and I was watching David Lee Roth just on. He was talking about his workout routine because he did the last tour with Van Halen, the senior tour. And man, that guy had to work out and train his dance moves and study ballet. And then I heard Keith Richards, what he does for the shows, what Mick Jagger does. He takes ballet, kickboxing. The guy is like a runner. He's a marathon runner. I mean, holy shit, he's 75 years old, and it's a hard work.
And that's what the way I looked at it, especially during COVID, was when you're faced with, okay, we got to get up on stage and play for 45 minutes every night. You're like, I better be trained to completely leave it all on the table for 45 minutes every night. So in my off time, I'm going to go out and run or do whatever I can to keep my cardio up as a singer and a bass player so that you can perform at that level every night. And I didn't want there to be a drop off when we started back up. So I was pretty diligent all throughout the pandemic of working out and staying in shape in hopes and preparations that it would open back up. Now it's opened up and I'm ready.
So the gigs are starting up again, and when is the first concert back on the road?
The first one is July 1st in Hanover, Maryland. It's at the M pre-party, which is the pre-party for the M3 festival, which I think that's in Columbia. Which is a huge show. I think it's the first festival back out. Coming down 3 weeks. The first festival that's happening in the United States, and it's on the East Coast, so it's a lot of the East Coast band, Kix and Cinderella. All those guys are going to be there. But more importantly than that, it's a showing. And we decided we wanted to take this cross-country journey to show everybody that we made it through. The Midnight Devils made it through. We're still alive, and we're here. And
ready to rock.
Yeah, we're ready.
Now, you told me that you're working on another album that's going to drop in the relatively near future. So how's that been working on that during the COVID period? I've talked to so many indie artists during this period, and so everyone's had to record separately. Did you guys, were you in the studio together? Did you do it separately?
Yeah.
How did that work for you guys?
What we did was, since we're broken to 3 cities, once the pandemic hit, we decided, okay, this is the perfect time to write our next record. We were thinking we were going to have to do it in hotel rooms on the road because of the blessing and the curse at the same time that is the pandemic. We were like, okay, we got this time. So what we did is Sniper and I sat in Omaha with a session drummer. We wrote the songs, got them ready to go, sent them out to Chicago, got Jimmy ready. And a few months later, it was about March by the time it hit, or by the time we were ready to record was about March. So by that time, things had opened up just slightly enough to where we could all drive together, drive into Chip's house. Chip's Enough is producing the record from Enough's Enough. And we could drive to his house and all be there together. So yes, we actually got to record everything together in one room and
cool.
be a part of that. Yeah.
So tell us about Chip's Enough, and what was it like working with the producer like that who's been in the business for so long?
It's so cool. It's a dream come true to be around a guy that really knows what he's doing. He knows good songs when he hears them. He knows how to craft good songs. He's got great ideas for songs, and he's got like I told you before, I like just being around it and being around his stories and looking up to those guys that have gone and done this stuff. So I soak it all up like a sponge. I want to hear every one of the stories. I want to hear all the old Enough's Enough stories. I want to hear what Chip thinks about these songs and what he can add. And that's really what it is he becomes the other member of the band and the guy that can kind of look at the songs objectively and with an outside view. And what's the record label going to want? What is the public going to want? How are we going to make these into singles? And where are we going to put these songs? And it was cool. It's been just a dream come true. And to have like Chip's phone number in my phone, well, 16-year-old me would have never thought that was a possibility. And we're going to be doing tours with them and shows and just being able to hang out. And the cool thing is we walk into his studio and he's like, all right, play some songs for me. I'm like, what? He's like, I want to hear the songs. So he had them all on my phone. And he lights up a joint that's this long, right? Like one of these Hooters. He goes, yep, very good songs. I think we got something we can work on here. Perfect. I'm like, all right.
High praise indeed.
We're on the right track.
So how did the Midnight Devils get together, and when were you founded? And tell us about the name.
I think we were founded in, I want to say 2016, 2017, somewhere like that. Sniper and I had been in this 80s tribute band that had released an album called just simply Midnight Devils. And I had come up with that name as it's kind of a feeling that you get like Friday night when the sun starts going down and you're getting ready to go out, getting ready to go to a show or getting ready to go to a party. It's that feeling that you get of anything's possible and we're going to have some sort of adventure, some sort of story. You know, it's going to be wild and crazy. We are the Midnight Devils. You know, that's where it came from. We started out as just a two-piece acoustic band, like a side project Sniper and I did. So when the hair band wasn't playing, the gigs started to kind of dry up. We're like, it's cool. We'll just go out as this two-piece acoustic act and play covers and stuff in small town bars, which in theory it worked and it got our chops up. You know, that was the thing. It got our chops up and got us playing in front of people. But two-man acoustic group in a bar doesn't work, because it's too quiet. You know, people want the energy. We tried to bring it and we did good, but it just wasn't quite. It was lacking Jimmy. It was lacking a drummer. And we finally made it electric. It's like Bob Dylan. We made the band electric, and it completely took off. And we saw that people wanted this style of music, and that we were in a niche market that nobody else was really doing.
That's the key, is finding that niche, putting yourself
Yep.
in there, and the hard work. So who does the songwriting? Do you guys collaborate together? Does one person bring the material, or is it a seamless process?
It is usually a collaboration. No one person does everything. But what we do is guys will bring in, like, I'll say I'll have a song and I'll kind of write the lyrics and write the melodies and write the chord structures, and I'll bring it to Chris, the Sniper, and he's really the musical director of this group, where I go, okay, the song's A, E, G, this, and next thing you know, he's like, and we got a cool song, like a boogie woogie song. It's moving, it's ass shaking. And I go, wow, that was a lot different than I envisioned. But we always find the songs are best when we collaborate together. Those are the best
Magical
songs.
alchemy, right? When everyone puts themselves in there and you hear it there. And I really shout out to the guitar player. He's fantastic. His Sniper is really fantastic. He was wearing a Van Halen shirt in one of the videos, and I'm like, I could hear a lot of Van Halen. He guys, really
huge Van Halen, huge Eddie guy, and this is really cool. There's not a lot of people play like that.
No. And how did you know the chemistry was right between the three of you?
We knew with Sniper, we'd been friends since back in that other band. I was his guitar tech, if you can even imagine that. Like, I started out as a stage manager, his guitar tech, and we became best friends the first night we met, and we were kind of inseparable after that. Jimmy, what happened was we were out doing one of those Rocklahoma festivals, and Jimmy was there with another band. He saw our tour bus, and he kicks in the door smoking a joint, and he goes, I want to talk to Sam. And I'm like, who is this guy? I really like him. This is awesome. I'd known about him, and we became friends right there, like in the middle of a field in Oklahoma. And I was like, oh, Jimmy's cool. And our drummer at the time bailed on a tour. He was 4 nights into a tour, disappeared, walked off the stage, disappeared. We called up Jimmy, and he's like, I would love to do the tour, but you got to come to Chicago to get me. And we were in Oklahoma, and it was like this whole thing. We drove 24 hours. But within all that driving, we became friends, and we realized we had so much in common. And we've been kind of spent every day together, and we just realized that it works. It's that chemistry, that undeniable thing. And sure, we fight. Sure, we don't agree. But at the end of the day, you can see the light and see the writing on the wall.
Well, it's so important, that friendship and that bond to make music together. It's really crucial. Take us on the road with the Midnight Devils. I've had a lot of touring groups on here, and I had one band, Allegiant, and we were talking about the challenges of life on the road. Take us on the road with Midnight Devils, behind the glitz and the glamour, after the show.
It's the thing with the Midnight Devils. I tell everybody this is, if something's going to go wrong, if there's going to be some sort of an insane story, it's going to happen to us. And I can't be surprised about it anymore. Whether it's Jimmy getting on a wrong Greyhound bus, or the cops pulling us over, or bar owners firing off guns, like, it's just the most insane things.
Oh, you got to give us that last one. They can't blow past that one.
Yeah, we had a bar owner that, like, we were finishing up our set, and he's screaming, take cover, this big outdoor show, and he's firing off a handgun at some guy, some customer. And we're like, we're in the middle of a gunfight right now in Kansas. This is terrible. but
Got
the
to be a
story,
song, and there's got to be a song in there somewhere. Come on.
right, right, there are the stories. It's just like I love the stories because it's every time we get together, like something absolutely ridiculous happens, and that's the cool, good and bad. Not not in that sense, but we are very cool. Where the guys have been doing it for so long. Chris has been doing it since the '80s. Jimmy's been doing it since Jimmy's a little closer to my age, but he's been playing in touring bands for longer than me. So I kind of really look up to those guys. They've been there, done that. But we are road dogs, we're like workhorse animals, where it doesn't matter. We can drive all night long, and it's totally cool. We can sleep in the venue parking lot. It's totally cool. We'll eat the leftovers out of the dressing room. It's totally cool. Whatever it's going to take to make this happen is really how it goes. And that's the thing with the Midnight Devils is we'll get these shows or these tours, and to me it seems almost impossible. I go, how are we going to figure this out? The transportation, how are we going to, like the Choir Boys tour was, they called us up a week ahead of time. They're like, we need you in Salt Lake City in a week to join the tour. And I was like, how are we going to make this happen? We did, you just do it. And you go
Guys,
out there.
rent a van. Do you have your own van? Who does the?
We have our own bus, like an airport shuttle bus. No air conditioning. The heater barely works. Like you're riding with the windows down, and that's how it is, though. But it's so rock and roll and so much fun, and so it really goes back to those guys that have done it before us, and we just kind of take that and follow that blueprint.
That is rock and roll. And I saw the same thing in Rush's documentary, how they started their career. They were on the bus, driving, writing their songs back in the van when one wasn't driving, and they would take turns. And
you when you play that much, your clothes never get a chance to dry. So you just like hang up your clothes every night, and you're just hoping that when you put them back on the next day, like they'll not be soaking wet. And that's the thing that you go, well, it doesn't really matter because we're gonna have to do this all again tomorrow, so it's not a big deal. But it's the cool thing is, and what I've really missed being on during this pandemic is being on tour is a challenge every day. Every day you wake up and you go, how am I going to get my band, my guys to this next city, overcome all these hurdles on the way to the city to get to the show to play for 45 minutes, load it all up, and figure out a place to stay and get to the next city. It's that challenge, but I miss it and I love it. I know I'm completely addicted to it.
That's the performer's life, isn't it? Is the feeling, the rush of the audience and giving everything you've got. How do you maintain your energy between shows and get ready, prepare yourself to give everything you've got for the night of the performance?
It's really simple. A lot of water. I don't drink anymore. I'm 11 years sober, so I think that has a really big thing to do with it. Is that we're not out. I mean, I'm not saying we're not out all night partying, because we definitely are, but I'm not waking up every morning with a hangover. Or I'm not really regretting the stuff that I've done the night prior. So really, you just know that we're going to be one of the hardest working bands out there. We're going to go out and perform every night, no matter how many people are in the audience. You're going to get the balls to the wall set, because we're so excited to be playing. It's not that anybody we owe it to anybody. We're excited to be there playing. So as soon as those amps get turned on, and the makeup, that's another thing, a weird thing of doing every night. And you're like, you got to do your makeup and hair every night, and some nights you don't feel like it. You're just like, man, I got to do this again. But you start feeling that roar and that camaraderie, and it eventually spikes you back up to where you feel like you can do anything and take over the world.
What's it like watching some of the bands you play with, and what inspiration do you draw from some very, very famous people?
I loved, with the Choir Boys, we weren't sure. We had no idea. We just kind of went in, and the very first night we're like, oh, these guys are incredible. This is going to be so much fun. They're so good. And what we took from them was really that rock and roll is cool. That's really all it is that they would get up there and there were these British dudes, these English dudes, and they're such sweethearts, and we became friends with them. And they just got up there and played rock music. That's what they did, British rock music. And they drank and they smoked every night. And I go, they had been on tour with the Rolling Stones. Like, these guys,
unbelievable.
This is rock and roll. So I knew it. When you see it, it's indescribable. And that's what I loved about those guys, is that it was just rock and roll no matter what. And we weren't on paper necessarily the closest fit, because we're a glam band. They're kind of a Stonesy band from the 80s, a rock band. But mixed together, the energy was just It was undeniable. And you don't want to go into a situation like that where you're opening for a national band lacking anything, lacking any energy. You want to show up and perform every night and give them the best, because you know that they're going to be watching you play.
Sets up the energy for the main events, of course.
Yep,
So like every
absolutely.
time I go to a show, I sometimes those opening bands knock it out of the park, and you're like, I write down their names, get on Spotify, and
Yep.
because I want to be there. I think it's great. I think that's life on the road. It's that's where the real rock's happening.
Yeah, and it's like about writing those good songs, writing those killer songs, and how to control an audience, how to command an audience, and bring the audience along and get them singing and excited and in the show. And that's what makes them part of the show, is when they know the lyrics and they're singing along. All become like one big unit.
If you could sit down with any rock artist, a living or deceased, who would it be? Or if you could play a set with any band, who would it be?
I would love to talk to Elvis. I think I got a lot of questions. I think, and Jimmy's not an Elvis fan. Sniper is, but I want to know. I just want to know what it was like in the early days. I want to know. I've read the books, but I want to know those stories of what it was like touring with those guys. They were touring in a station wagon, and they went through hell and back to get a record deal, to get just to get signed, and they playing 6 nights a week, 7 nights a week. I love those old stories of where rock and roll began and how we got from that to this.
Do you imagine if Elvis had social media or Jimmy Page had social media, how different it is today as opposed to then?
I can't even imagine. And part of it is like everybody, and especially in this culture, and I think that's one thing that we've really done well, is that rock and roll is an attitude, it's a lifestyle. And we're not apologizing for what we do, because we're going out there playing and partying and having fun. And back in those days, they didn't have any of those problems of taking pictures of people watching, social media or anything like that. So I think we make no apologies about it. We're out there having a good time and really doing what the guys before us did.
So how is your second album going to be different than your first? What can fans expect to hear on the second album that's going to come out soon?
The second album is going to be it'll be out this year. Like I said, produced by Chips Enough. It's going to be mixed and mastered by Chris Diamonds, which is a guy in Chicago at one of the biggest studios in Chicago. It's going to be mixing and mastering. It's Chips hooking us up, and he produced Kiss Revenge. He helped mix a Kiss record, and it just blows my mind. That's what you can expect is great sound. What we learned on the last record, is we did it independently. This one, we're signed to a major label. We're not holding anything back. We're going big time. We're going home. There's going to be a new cover. The first single is probably going to be a cover. And you can expect it's going to be straight up boogie woogie rock and roll music with that. Just sonically, I think it's going to sound so much better than the one prior.
Well, it's exciting to watch bands grow and to watch them develop and go in different directions, and I think we all look forward to hearing that, because I really enjoyed the grittiness and the rawness of that first album. Really, it's when you see you live in performance, I hear that in the recording, so I can't wait to hear what it does.
That's really what we focused on, is get that, not necessarily like we're sing-songing like not like Rush, but it's going to be more like Faster Pussycat, where it's that gritty, raw. I really pushed my voice and strained it to accommodate for that and to make it sound dirty and rock and roll.
Exciting! Can't wait to hear it. How long did it take to record? And tell us the process of finishing this recording and putting it all together. How long does it take from concept to inception? And what was the process like for you?
From when we started October of. Well, no, I would say right when we got back from the Choir Boys tour in March, we started writing, and we finally started doing demos in October, and then we started recording, I want to say in March or April. Once we got to Chip's house, the recording went super fast. Like, we were knocking it out. We've probably spent 9 days on it so far, which is nothing, but it goes back almost to a year to when we were out on tour with the Choir Boys. We had these songs, we were kind of working up these tunes. So it's a long process, and especially with the pandemic, made it a little longer. But like I said, it was that silver lining. Like, it gave us the time to actually do this properly and to write the songs that we wanted to write. That's the cool thing. as much as it sucked not doing the rest of that tour, it gave us that time. And I think a lot of musicians are feeling that. And I think there's going to be that renaissance. As soon as this opens back up, you can already kind of see it. And you probably know as much as anybody.
That's every artist is. We're talking about that
Yeah.
because I just got my first. I got my first concerts. I have a rehearsal tomorrow. I mean, everything's starting to open up again. I've got some orchestra shows coming up this summer, and I can't wait. It's been a year and a half since I've been in front of artists and musicians, and I can't wait to get back there to making music with the people I care about. And it is going to be a renaissance. One thing that history has taught us in music is that even after like the Black Death in World War II, the arts come storming back because people have to express themselves, and music's how we do it.
That's exactly how I felt that the whole time. You could almost feel it, like everybody's kind of holding back like their records or whatever. They're like, that all these bands and artists are putting out are recording right now, and that once the floodgates open, we're gonna have the best songs and the best, because everybody's had a year to sit on it and to write these really good songs. Once the gates open up, I think it's gonna be on. And the thing, we're not gonna take it for granted this time around. I don't mean this time around, but I don't think anybody's gonna take this for granted.
There's not going to be one rehearsal for me where I'm not going to be excited to get up there and make music because, what's something in the last year that you learned about yourself? I mean, because we're all used to being on the road, running around, busy schedules, doing all the things we do. But what's something you learned about yourself in this period?
I learned that I'm a complete and utter workaholic, and that I can't sit home. And because of being on the road so much, and because of being in the band, like I just kind of shifted the focus to DJing, if that's what my gig is for the day. Like what's my hurdle that I got to climb is that I got to wrangle a bunch of strippers and get them to the show and make sure that it's the best show that you've ever seen, and that all the guys that come in, like there's smoke and lasers. Like I just kind of transferred from being in a band to being a DJ, but I still treat it the same way and I still have the same mindset of it.
One show to another, very rock and roll, always on the stage. Life is stage, right?
Yeah.
So, have you worked with Yngwie Malmsteen before?
No, we haven't, and it was a really weird thing. Is I kind of told you before, because of the agent. So we're working with Chuck at Artists Worldwide is the guy's name, that booked us for the choir. He got a set up, and Artists Worldwide is one of the biggest booking agencies in LA, and they book all of the bands that we look up to, the next level bands. So we're like on the bottom rung of the agency. Okay, but at least we made it to the bottom.
You got to start working way up there. Sure.
So we do the Choir Boys tour. We do great on that. He calls me up. He's like, all right, I need a favor from you. I'm like, oh man, I hate this. All right, whatever. He goes, I need you to, this is big time. This isn't clubs. We're playing theaters now. I go, oh, awesome. I love it. All right, Chuck, lay it on me. He's like, I need you in Florida at the end of July. You're going to be opening for Yngwie Malmsteen 2 shows. Can you do it? I was like, yeah, let's go. It sounds great. He's like, perfect. It's a favor for the company. You guys just go out there and do really good. And thank you. I was like, no, thank you. Thank you. This is a great opportunity. We're going to be right on the beach playing in Florida. But it's definitely kind of a weird mix, because Jimmy and I are not necessarily in that vein of the Yngwie style. Sniper is, where, guitar players. So I'm interested to see how it plays out, if their fans will accept us. I think they will.
You'll give it a great show, get everything moving. It's going to be an exciting time. And I've seen him once. I saw him on a demo, and he was just unreal.
Yeah, it was good.
He scallops the guitar head so he can move the fingers faster, and it's really pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I'm super excited, and really I do my homework on this. Guy sold 70 million records, Grammy award winning. Like, he is the guitar player's guitar player. So it's a pleasure and an honor to be kind of on those bills and to see your name next to guys like that.
Well, here's to great success down the road, is to getting back on the stages where you belong and to making great music. And I can't wait to catch you guys in a show down the road.
Yeah, well, we'll be in New Jersey. I'm trying to think when it'll be. Maybe early 2022.
Okay, well, make sure you come back on the show afterwards, and we'll put out all through the Music Matters family, get some people there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know I'll definitely be there. How can people find out more about you and the Midnight Devils?
You can go to the cool thing about this band is that it's still very punk rock. It's still very DIY, and we did just recently sign with a record label, which is the first time we had, hundreds of record labels say we're not interested, hundreds, and finally one goes, we love what you guys are doing, and that's Pavement Entertainment out of Chicago. They got what we were doing. The guys understand. They weren't trying to push us in one direction or another. They said, you're gonna have Chip produce the record. It's going to be out, and we'll make this tour, and we'll make it all happen. So finally we were signed, but everything's still very independent because we love what we do. We love this so much. So go to themidnightdevils.com. We run our own websites. We run our own social media pages. We're very active on both. We're on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. You can download our music. And I tell everybody, you can listen to our music on Spotify, no problem, but really go out and buy the records. Spotify doesn't do any services to the artist. It's really terrible. It's like, but you see a guy on the street go, hey, is your band on Spotify? You're like, absolutely, we're on Spotify, but here's our CD. Buy the records, support the bands. That's really what it's about, not necessarily getting your music off Spotify. So I kind of encourage everybody, like, Spotify, we're there, but there's so much more and so many better things that you could listen to our music from.
Well, make sure you check out this band on the rise as Midnight Devils come back to the stage. Sam Spade, thank you so much for joining us, and continued success.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on Music Matters. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topics. Like and share our videos, help our community grow. Our next show will be today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got Metropolitan Opera conductor and French international conductor Pierre Vallet. So hope you can join us, and remember, keep music alive.